Okay, so have you ever been working with data in Excel and you're looking at all these details, but then you're like, wait a minute, how does this all fit into the bigger picture?
Yeah, like trying to see the forest for the trees. I get that.
Right, exactly. So today we'll do a deep dive into a DAX function that can help us out with that.
That's right. Data analysis expressions, and specifically the ALLSELECTED function.
ALLSELECTED.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful tool.
Yeah, so can you just real quick before we get into ALLSELECTED, just explain what is DAX? Why is it so special in Excel?
Sure. So DAX, it stands for Data Analysis Expressions, and it's basically like a more advanced way of doing calculations in Excel.
Oh.
It's like a whole language built right into Excel that lets you manipulate and analyze data in ways that you just can't do with regular formulas. So those SUM or average functions?
Right.
DAX is way beyond that.
Okay, so it's next level Excel skill.
Yeah, exactly. You're leveling up your Excel game for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, I like it. So this ALLSELECTED function, our source material, says it lets you remove certain filters while keeping others active.
Right.
Honestly, that sounds a little confusing. Can you just break that down for us?
So think about it this way. You're looking at sales data for different regions, right? You've got the north, the south, the east, the west, and you've applied a filter to only see the west region.
Okay.
But you also want to know how those sales in the west compare to the total sales for all the regions combined.
Mm-hmm.
So ALLSELECTED lets you keep that west filter on, but it also shows you the total sales for every region. It basically gives you a peek at the whole picture without removing your filter.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
I can have my regional cake and eat the national cake too.
Exactly. You got it.
That's pretty neat. But wouldn't it be easier to just remove the filter, look at the total, and then put the filter back on?
Sure, that works if you're dealing with this one filter. But what if you've got a bunch of filters applied, or you're creating a dashboard where you want those totals to change dynamically as you play around with different filters?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's where ALLSELECTED really becomes indispensable.
So efficiency.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Cool. The source material mentions the syntax of the function. So that's just
Yeah.
the structure, right?
Yeah, it's the grammar of how you write it out.
Okay, and it looks a little something like this ALLSELECTED sales region.
Right.
So can you decode that for us?
Okay, so in that example, sales region, that's telling ALLSELECTED to look at the region column in a table called sales.
Okay.
And the result you get back, the return value, is basically a view of your data that includes all the regions, even though you might have a filter active on just one region.
Oh, okay. So you can still see the individual regions and the total for all regions.
Exactly. You're seeing both the trees and the forest.
Wow, I like that. Now, our source also mentions that ALLSELECTED is different from another DAX function called just all.
Right.
So what's the difference?
So ALLSELECTED is a more precise tool. It removes filters on rows and columns, but it keeps other types of filters you might have set. But all is like a sledgehammer.
Okay.
It removes all filters no matter what.
So ALLSELECTED is more like a scalpel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So if I want to fine tune things, I use ALLSELECTED. But if I want to just see everything, I use all in.
Exactly. Got it.
Cool. Can you give us an example of when you'd use one versus the other?
Sure. So let's say you're looking at sales data again, and you have a filter to only see sales for the month of January.
Okay.
You want to create a chart that shows sales for each region in January alongside the total sales for all regions for January.
Right.
If you use all L, it's going to show you the total sales for all regions for the entire year, not just January, because it removes all filters, including the month filter. But if you use ALLSELECTED, it will keep that January filter active.
Okay.
So you'll see the total sales for all regions, but only for the month of January.
Gotcha. So it's ALLSELECTED is more context aware.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay, very cool. Our source does mention some limitations with ALLSELECTED. It says it's not supported in direct query mode for calculated columns or row-level security rules.
Right.
Those sound kind of technical. What does that all mean?
It is a little technical, but basically it boils down to certain specific situations where ALLSELECTED might not work as you expect.
Okay.
So direct query mode is used when you're working with really, really large data sets that are stored outside of Excel.
Okay.
Instead of importing all that data into Excel, which could take forever, direct query lets you connect to the data source directly and only pull in the data you need when you need it. It's kind of like streaming a movie instead of downloading the whole thing.
Okay, so it's all about efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
So ALLSELECTED doesn't play nice with that.
Not always.
Yeah.
And then calculated colors and row level security, those are ways to add extra calculations or control who can see what data. And again, in those specific scenarios, ALLSELECTED might have some limitations.
So any powerful tool, it's got its quirks. But overall, it seems like learning DAX And this all selected function would be super helpful for like anyone who works with data in Excel.
Oh, absolutely. DAX gives you so much more control and flexibility when you're analyzing data. And all selected is just one example of the many cool things you can do with it. So don't be intimidated by the technical stuff. Just start experimenting and see what you can uncover.
Yeah, it's like unlocking a whole new level of Excel mastery. And it's not just about like crunching numbers. It's about finding the story hidden in the data, right?
Exactly. And who knows, maybe exploring DAX will even spark a passion for data analysis that you never knew you had.
I love that.